Most creators understand tools, and many also understand trends, but very few people know how to actually apply these things in a simple and practical way, and that is exactly why they struggle to grow. You might know which AI tools to use, and you might also understand how YouTube is changing, but when it comes to actually creating content consistently, things start getting confusing very quickly. You try different ideas, test different formats, and still feel like results are not stable, and that can be frustrating after some time. The problem is not that you lack knowledge. The problem is that you don't have a clear system to follow. And without a system, everything feels random, even when you are putting in effort. At the same time, creators who are growing are not just using tools or following trends. They are following simple systems that guide their entire workflow. And once you understand this, something important changes because content creation becomes clearer, easier, and more consistent over time instead of confusing and unpredictable. And if you like this content and think it can help someone, feel free to like and share it with your friends or family. Before we go into the systems, there is one important thing you need to understand, because most creators are not failing because they don't know enough. They are failing because they are trying to do everything without a clear structure. You might be using AI tools, following trends, and even creating content regularly, but without a system, everything feels disconnected and confusing. One video performs well, another does not, and over time, you don't know what is actually working and what is not. And that creates frustration, because you are putting in effort but not getting stable results. At the same time, other creators are not doing random actions. They are following simple, repeatable systems that guide their entire workflow from idea to upload. And when this happens, something important changes. Because they are no longer guessing what to do next, they already know their next step. And once you start working like this, your content becomes more consistent, your process becomes easier, and your results start improving in a more stable and predictable way over time. And when you start following a clear system like this, you notice something very important because your content is no longer random, and that makes it easier to understand what is working and what needs to improve. Over time, this reduces confusion, improves consistency, and makes your growth feel more stable instead of unpredictable. The first system is how you move from an idea to a clear script, because this is where most creators either get stuck or waste a lot of time without realizing it. You might spend hours thinking about what topic to choose, how to structure it, and what exactly to say. And even after that, the final script may not feel clear or strong enough. And because of that, your videos take longer to create and still do not perform the way you expect. At the same time, other creators are using a simple system where they take one idea, break it into a clear structure, and quickly turn it into a script using AI support. And when this happens, something important changes because they are not stuck in thinking again and again, they are moving into execution much faster. The gap becomes clear because one creator is overthinking while the other is creating consistently. And once you understand this system, you stop wasting time on confusion and start building scripts that are clear, structured, and ready to use every time. And when you keep using this approach, you start noticing that you are no longer stuck thinking about what to say next because your structure is already clear. This makes your process faster, your ideas clearer, and your content easier to create consistently over time. To apply this system, you don't need anything complicated. You just need a simple process that you repeat every time you create content. Start by picking one clear idea, not multiple topics, and focus only on that because that keeps your message strong. Then break that idea into simple parts, like hook, main points, and closing, so your structure becomes easy to follow. After that, you can use AI tools to expand those points into a full script, but instead of copying everything directly, you adjust it to your own style so it feels natural and clear. And when you follow this process, something important changes because your script becomes faster to create and easier to understand for the viewer. The advantage is that you save time and reduce confusion, but one limitation is that you still need to guide the AI properly. And when you apply this consistently, you start noticing that your content creation becomes smoother, faster, and much more structured over time. And when you repeat this process again and again, it becomes natural because you are not starting from zero every time. You already know your steps, and that makes your workflow faster, smoother, and much easier to manage over time. The second system is how you use short-form and long-form content together, because this is where many creators either miss opportunities or use both formats in the wrong way. You might be posting long videos and waiting for them to perform, or posting shorts without any clear direction, and because of that, your results feel inconsistent. One video works, another does not, and over time, it becomes difficult to understand what is actually helping your channel grow. At the same time, other creators are using a simple system where shorts are used to bring attention, and long videos are used to build trust and keep the viewer engaged. And when this happens, something important changes. Because your content is no longer working separately, it starts working together. The gap becomes clear because one creator is posting randomly, while the other is building a connected content flow. And once you understand this system, you stop treating content as isolated uploads and start building a structure where each video supports the next. And when you start using this approach consistently, you notice something very important because your content is no longer random and each video has a clear role to play. Some videos bring attention, while others build trust, and over time, this balance makes your growth more stable and easier to understand. To apply this system, you need to think of your content as a connected flow instead of separate videos, and this is where most creators need to make a small but important shift. Start by creating one strong, long video that delivers clear value, because that becomes your main content. Then take key parts from that video and turn them into short clips that can attract attention and bring new viewers to your channel. And when you do this, something important happens because your shorts are no longer random. They are directly connected to your long content. The advantage is that you save time and create more content from one idea. But one limitation is that you need to plan your content properly. And when you apply this consistently, you start noticing a clear difference because your content begins to support itself, your audience grows more steadily, and your channel becomes easier to manage over time. And when you repeat this process again and again, you start noticing a clear difference because you are not creating content from scratch every time. You are building on what you already made, and that makes your workflow faster, more efficient, and much easier to manage over time. The third system is about simplifying your content, because this is where many creators lose viewers without even realizing it. You might be explaining good ideas, sharing useful information, and trying to add more value, but if your content feels complicated or difficult to follow, viewers leave quickly. And that creates a problem because even strong ideas do not perform if they are not easy to understand. You might think that adding more details will improve your video, but in many cases, it actually makes it harder to follow. At the same time, other creators are doing something different. They are taking complex ideas and breaking them into simple and clear explanations that anyone can understand easily. And when this happens, something important changes because viewers are able to follow faster, understand better, and stay longer. The gap becomes clear because one creator is trying to say more while the other is trying to say things more clearly. And once you understand this system, you stop focusing on adding more information and start focusing on making your content easier to understand, which improves your results immediately. And when you keep doing this over time, you start noticing that viewers understand your content much faster. They stay longer without confusion, and your videos feel easier to follow, which directly improves your overall performance. To apply this system, you need to focus on how your content feels to the viewer, not just what you are saying, and this is where most creators need to make a small but important change. Start by taking one idea and explaining it in simple sentences instead of trying to explain everything at once, because that reduces confusion. Then use examples or comparisons that make the idea easier to understand without extra effort. And when you do this, something important happens because your content becomes easier to follow and more engaging at the same time. The advantage is that viewers understand faster and stay longer. But one limitation is that you need to avoid over-explaining or repeating unnecessary details. At the same time, consistency is important because if you keep your content simple in every video, viewers start expecting that clarity from you. And when you apply this properly, you start noticing a clear difference because your videos become easier to watch, your message becomes clearer, and your retention improves in a more stable way over time. And when you repeat this approach consistently, you start seeing a clear difference because your content becomes easier to watch, your message becomes clearer, and your audience stays engaged for a longer time without effort. The fourth system is about focusing on a specific audience, because this is where many creators lose direction without even realizing it. You might be creating content on different topics, trying new ideas, and covering multiple areas. And because of that, your channel may start feeling inconsistent. One video attracts one type of viewer, while another video attracts a completely different type, and over time it becomes difficult to build a strong connection with any one group. And that creates a problem, because viewers do not clearly understand what your channel is about or why they should return. You might think that covering more topics will help you grow faster, but in many cases, it actually makes your content weaker and harder to follow. At the same time, other creators are focusing on one specific audience and one clear problem, and they are repeating that message consistently across their videos. And when this happens, something important changes, because viewers start recognizing the value, understanding the message quickly, and coming back regularly. The gap becomes clear because one creator is trying to reach everyone, while the other is building a strong connection with a specific group. And once you understand this system, you stop trying to cover everything and start building content that clearly speaks to one audience, which improves your growth over time. To apply this system, you need to define your audience clearly, because without that, your content will always feel scattered and difficult to grow. Start by choosing one type of viewer and one main problem that you want to solve for them, instead of trying to help everyone at once. Then create content that directly speaks to that problem in a simple and clear way, so your message becomes easy to understand. And when you do this, something important happens, because your content starts feeling focused instead of random. The advantage is that viewers connect faster and understand your value more clearly, but one limitation is that you need to stay consistent and avoid changing direction too often. At the same time, consistency plays a big role because repeating the same message builds familiarity over time. And when you apply this properly, you start noticing a clear difference because your channel feels more focused, your audience becomes stronger, and your growth becomes more stable and easier to manage over time. And when you keep following this approach consistently, you start noticing something very clear because your content is no longer confusing for the viewer. They understand your message faster, connect with it more easily, and come back for more videos, which makes your growth more stable over time. The fifth system is about making your content more interactive, because this is where many creators lose engagement without even realizing it. You might be explaining things clearly and sharing useful information, but if the viewer is only watching passively, the connection stays weak. And over time, that affects how long they stay and whether they come back to your channel. You might think that good information is enough, but if the viewer is not mentally involved, they lose interest quickly. At the same time, other creators are doing something different. They are finding simple ways to involve the viewer directly in the content. This can be through asking questions, guiding the viewer to think, or creating small moments where the viewer feels part of the video. And when this happens, something important changes. Because the viewer is no longer just watching, they are actively engaged. The gap becomes clear because one type of content is watched and forgotten, while the other is experienced and remembered. And once you understand this system, you start creating content that feels more engaging, more interactive, and more effective over time. And when you keep doing this consistently, you start noticing something very clear. Because your audience is no longer just watching your content, they are thinking along with you, staying engaged for longer, and remembering your videos even after they finish. To apply this system, you need to add small interaction points inside your content instead of waiting until the end to ask for engagement. And this is where most creators need to make a simple shift. Start by asking easy questions that make the viewer think, even if they do not answer out loud, because that creates involvement. Then create short pauses after important points, so the viewer has time to process what you just said. And when you do this, something important happens, because your content feels more engaging without becoming complicated. The advantage is that viewers stay longer and feel more connected, but one limitation is that you need to keep it natural and not force it. At the same time, consistency matters, because if you repeat this in every video, your audience starts expecting that interaction. And when you apply this properly, you start noticing a clear difference. Because your audience becomes more active, your retention improves, and your videos perform better in a more stable way over time. And when this continues across multiple videos, you start noticing something even more important, because your audience is not just watching once and leaving. They stay connected, they return more often, and over time, that builds a stronger relationship with your content, which improves your overall growth. The sixth system is about building a clear personal brand, because this is what connects all your content together over time and makes your channel recognizable. You might be creating good videos, sharing useful ideas, and following the right structure, but if your content feels different every time, it becomes difficult for viewers to remember you. And when that happens, they may watch one video, but not return, because there is no strong connection. You might think that improving each video is enough, but without consistency, your channel still feels random. At the same time, other creators are doing something different. They are keeping a consistent tone, style, and message across all their videos. And when this happens, something important changes, because viewers start recognizing their content instantly, even before clicking. The gap becomes clear because one channel feels disconnected, while the other feels familiar every time. And once you understand this system, you stop thinking about videos as separate pieces and start building a consistent identity, which makes your content stronger and more memorable over time. And when you keep this consistency across multiple videos, you start noticing something very clear, because your audience is no longer trying to understand your content from scratch every time. They recognize your style faster, trust your message more easily, and return more often, which makes your overall growth more stable and easier to maintain over time. To apply this system, you need to focus on consistency across everything you create, because that is what builds recognition over time. Start by keeping your tone, style, and way of explaining similar in every video, so viewers know what to expect when they watch your content. Then focus on repeating your core message instead of changing direction too often, because repetition builds familiarity. And when you do this, something important happens, because your content starts feeling connected instead of random. The advantage is that viewers remember your content more easily and trust it more, but one limitation is that it takes time and consistency to build this identity. At the same time, small details matter, like your structure, your pacing, and your way of explaining ideas, because these create your unique style. And when you apply this properly, you start noticing a clear difference, because your channel feels more structured, your audience becomes more loyal, and your growth becomes more stable and easier to manage over time. And when this continues over time, you start noticing something even more important because your audience is no longer just watching your videos randomly. They understand your content faster, connect with your message more easily, and start trusting your channel, which leads to more consistent growth. So now you have a complete system, not just ideas, not just tools, but a clear way to actually apply everything step by step. You understand how to move from idea to script, how to connect short and long content, how to simplify your message, how to focus on the right audience, how to keep viewers engaged, and how to build a strong brand over time. And when you start applying these systems, something important changes because content creation becomes more clear, more consistent, and much easier to manage. You do not need to do everything at once, but even small improvements can start making a big difference over time. Now, if you want to connect this with real tools and see how these systems work in actual content creation, you can check the previous videos on the channel where we explained AI tools and YouTube trends step by step. And when you watch those, everything connects together much better. And if this helped you, stay connected because the next videos will go deeper into how to apply these systems in a simple and practical way. And if you want to go deeper, make sure to check the previous videos on the channel because that is where we break down the tools and trends that connect directly with this system. When you watch those, everything becomes much clearer and you will know exactly how to move from learning to actually applying it in your own content.